What's up guys, welcome to the Other Refinement. In today's video, I want to talk about the 4 biggest traps that all resellers fall into and what we can do about it. We'll see you guys inside. The number 1 biggest traps that resellers fall into is underestimating how long it takes. Everybody looks at reselling like it's really just a fast way to make money, but that's not the case. Over time, as you get more and more experience, you understand how long things take and different ways to shave time off of it. So if I could go back and tell my older self, when you're reselling, every single kind of product takes a certain amount of time, but you don't know that when you're first starting. That's why it's okay in the beginning to be an everything seller, because you don't know how long things take. And over time, you start trimming things that don't match. My catchphrase for the year is going to be not for me. Things that end up taking you too long and that you don't enjoy doing, those ones are no longer for you. You're going to leave those for a different reseller. The second biggest pitfall that resellers run into is they think that money is going to solve their problems. It doesn't require money to resell. It actually just requires resourcefulness. If you start with 1 item and no money and double that and buy 2 items and double that and buy 4 items, you're going to learn the ropes along the way. If you try to skip steps, I am guilty of that. Skipping ahead, buying more than you can actually chew, it sets you way back because you're paying extra money for space, you're paying extra money for processing, you're listing items that are never gonna sell just because you got them in a bulk deal. It's way faster to go slower and let your money compound. To make your reselling business go faster, you actually need to sell the items that you currently have, not buy new items. So it's really, really important. If you have 500 items in your store and nothing is selling, to make sure you sell those 500 items, even for 20 bucks, because then you can start over with a fresh store and those 500 items aren't dragging your entire store down. The third biggest pitfall that resellers run into is running out of space. It's so important to understand that if you can afford it, getting twice as much space saves you so much time because you're not walking over yourself. Having aisleways that are big enough to walk through and not knock things over as you're walking through it is massive. And when I first moved from my house to a storage unit, it created a lot of different things for me. One, I had this rule of no inventory in the house. So I wanted to list items as soon as they could because I'm now paying for an external space. That external space closed at 6 p.m. So I had to get my work done before 6 p.m. There was no working after that. And also it was closed on holidays. So I had to get my work done so I could actually take the weekends and holidays off. So those rules are really, really good for me because working from home, everything started to blend together. And when you don't have enough space to work, you don't have enough space to think, it really messes up your personal life because there is no difference between your home and your office because everything is always in the way. So I recommend the first thing you do is sell at least half of the stuff in your space, so half of it is completely empty. If you don't have that space to think, you're going to be in big trouble because all that clutter is going to take up all your mental real estate. You won't be able to learn how to buy better items. But if your thought is less but better, I want a smaller store that produces more money, smaller store that produces more money, you end up buying less and less items and items that match what you're looking for in terms of how fast they sell, for what profit, what their costs are. You have to trim your way out of the situation by just slowly reducing the items in your store. And it's going to be reverse nirvana, which is where you're actually selling more items than you list if you're doing it right. So right in the beginning, if you have 500 items, you might want to lower your listing goal to just 1 to 5 items a day and focus on selling 2 to 10 items a day to make sure your store is shrinking the items that are doing bad, and the items that are doing good, sell more of those, sell less of what's not working. The 4th biggest trap is not understanding that knowledge is your number 1 weapon against other resellers. Before I purchased these shoes, I knew that with this quantity of shoes, I needed to be able to make a profit, even not mentioning the brand. This brand is Carayuma, which is actually a really good brand of shoe that's made in Brazil, but shoes in Brazil are specifically known for being really high quality. I also know that Brazil has a very, very active and very popular skateboarding scene. This is a skateboarding shoe brand. So these shoes are lifestyle shoes that are made for skateboarders or regular people. And I know that with all these different keywords like leather, canvas, skate, high top, there's like different materials and different things that these shoes are made of, and the colorways are awesome. And the collaborations they did with about 30 or 40 different companies make these a desirable item that I can sell even without the brand. So your knowledge is going to be your number 1 way to move things quickly and your number 1 way to understand where these goods come from. These goods were actually rejected by TJ Maxx. That's why I was able to get such a good deal. But normally this volume of shoes would go to a big retailer like TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Ross. But because these shoes did not meet the quality standards, meaning they were a little bit too used, Ross and TJ Maxx ended up passing on them because they want more of a brand new item in their store. because of the opportunity, and I know that these types of opportunities happen at certain times a year with certain suppliers in certain places with certain people, it gave me the inroads to get a really good deal on these specific items. So I know next year when they're in this situation, because I was able to move these shoes the first time, I can hopefully get a contract to deal with their liquidation and their returns, because that's the name of the game. As we're reselling, I don't want to go out hunting for items over and over and over again. I want items to come to me. I want brands to trust me. And this year in 2024, I want you guys to really focus on creating some supply chain that's recurring. Not just something that happens one time, but something that happens forever. If I end up getting a contract, it makes this reselling company actually sellable, not just for what the inventory is worth on the equipment. All right, guys, in the first video this year, I told you guys to make a plan and set some goals. In this video, I told you to be cognizant of time, space, money, and knowledge. How I want you to approach 2024 is you make a plan of what you want to do and compare it to your goals and compare to what you're doing day to day and figure out what time do you need, what space do you need, what knowledge do you need, what resources and money do you need to make your goal a reality. And if you have any questions, check out dailyrefinement.com or email me at chris@dailyrefinement.com. Appreciate you guys. Until next time, make progress daily.